Hey guys, how's it going? Scott here from scottsbasslessons.com, and I'm here today for a completely open Q&A with you guys. Just wanted to come and selfishly just try out some new equipment actually on you. We're running a super fancy camera, which is why this will should almost look like it is pre-recorded, but it is live. I'm just going to check. I've got my phone here so I can check what it actually looks like on Facebook. It looks beautiful. Looks beautiful, there you go. But yeah, if you're here with us live, just hit the heart or hit the like button. Let me know where you're from as well. It's always awesome to hear where you guys are from and, you know, around the world, because we're a connected community now. You know, there's bass players all the way around the world connected via the internet, and it absolutely blows me away. So just let me know in the comments where you're from before we kick off with some questions. I'm just gonna, oh yeah, and let me know if the audio's all right. I'm just gonna do some playing, and so you can check out the level, because it's hard for us to figure out whether the audio is okay just from this room. So I'm just gonna do some playing. Let me know what the audio sounds like. So if you could let me know what that audio sounds like, guys, that'd be awesome. I'm just going to check out the comments here. I'll check out the comments and see what's going on. D-Mac, it's working. D-Mac's having a party, actually. Because we really didn't know whether this was going to work. Let me check out. Cut down the bass a bit, it's rattling my speakers. That's a good thing, right? That's when you know it's right. Oh, John Dave, it's a late night here, yet my eyes are wide open. Awesome, man. Bass level works, not too heavy, lets the rest soar. Mark Smith. How you doing, Mark? You all right? Sounds great. Cheers, guys. I should have done some more speaking, actually, shouldn't I? Just to make sure that the level's all right. But I'm just going to... Here's the... That's the average, the normal bass level for you. But is this streaming on YouTube, DMAC?
Yeah.
It is streaming on YouTube as well. So we've got Facebook streaming and YouTube streaming. The two communities are combined. Anyway, guys, this is a totally open Q&A. So all questions are welcome. What I'd really love you to do, just to highlight whether it's a question, because I want you to chat among yourselves as well, but just write question in capital letters, colon, and then the question for me to check it out. And then I'll be able to find it within the actual stream. Eric Brewington, P-Bass baby. Yes, absolutely. Mark Sims. Hey, nice to see you, Mark. How's it going? Where's the breakdown? The D minor groove you jammed on. I'm not sure which one that is, Derek. Hey from Hong Kong. Hey, Stephen, how you doing? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to... How do I find that live stream on YouTube, DMAC? DMAC's coming over. This is it. Get in, DMAC. We're just getting the YouTube up as well, so I can see the questions coming in on YouTube. This is DMAC's bum. I've just seen it. Oh, right, great. Question. What do you suggest for a bass player that hit the plateau and is not advancing? That's from Maurice. So a bass player that's hit the plateau and not advancing, Maurice, I've hit that plateau a million times and I'll probably hit it a million times again. I think it's just one of those things that we, as musicians and bass players, that happens to us. And what I've found as well is that the progression of a musician is absolutely not like this, unfortunately. It seems to be like steps like this. So you'll have a little uplift in your playing, then you'll go along, then an uplift, and then another plateau, then an uplift, then a plateau. If anybody agrees with me, hit like just to show your support for Maurice, because I've had this a ton of times in my playing. And what I find is with me is the more advanced I get, the longer those damn plateaus seem to last, which kills me, right? The good thing is that, you know, they only do last for a certain amount of time. And when I do hit a plateau, me personally, and what I recommend all my students do, is just get transcribing, get into other people's bass lines and solos and try and figure out what they're doing, and you'll find these hidden gems within that, and then you'll be able to get it into your playing and, you know, into your vocabulary. I think when people say I've hit a plateau, what does that actually mean? For me, what I think it means is that my vocabulary of what I play is not expanding. Does that make sense? I'll say that again. So when somebody says, I've hit a plateau and I don't feel like I'm progressing at all, what that really means is my vocabulary isn't expanding and I'm playing the same old stuff over and over again. So if that is what it means, and I do think that's what it means, or it certainly does with me, if that is what it means, then transcribing other people's lines and deconstructing and reverse engineering what they're doing over certain chord sequences is the way forward, because you're studying their vocabulary and then getting that into your playing, right? And pretty much everything I play has been derived from somebody else's playing. Pretty much, you know, I make it my own. I don't do that on purpose, it just becomes my own. But, you know, a lot of the stuff that I play, I can think, oh, that was from this guy, that was from this guy, that was from this guy or this girl. And so I really recommend transcribing. And if anybody's watching this and thinking, oh, well, you know, transcribing is really hard. It is hard, but just go at it, you know, little sections at a time. You don't need to transcribe an entire solo. Listen out for, you know, it could be like a bass groove. It could be like just a little lick like that. And then try and find that on your instrument and get it into your own vocabulary. And then after you've transcribed it in one key, then try it in different keys. G, Okay, B flat. You know, and then D flat. You know, and just take, once you've transcribed that little gem that's going to expand your own vocabulary, take that and get it into loads of, use it in as many situations as you can, overuse it to death until it really gets absorbed in what you're doing. Okay, I'm just going to, I'm going to grab another question. Who am I transcribing these days? That's, oh, Nicholas. Hey, Nicholas, how you doing? Who am I transcribing these days? I've been transcribing some Michael League from Snarky Puppy, because I think he's got a really great take on just sounding original. He uses a lot of triads within his lines. You know, using a lot of triads. So I've been transcribing a lot of Michael League. I've also been transcribing a lot of Bill Evans, the piano player, because I'm really into Bill Evans. I'll give you one more. I'm trying to think of a bass player that I've been transcribing. I suppose that's the key as well. Don't always transcribe. Don't always transcribe bass players. Transcribe, you know, other instruments as well. Okay. Let me have a look. I'm trying to think of somebody else I've been transcribing. Victor Bailey. I've been transcribing some Victor Bailey. How to solo over chord changes that aren't 2/5. How to solo over chord changes that aren't 2/5. What I do, that's a huge question, Mika. So what I do is, if you're trying to get into soloing, I'd really try and get into playing on simple jazz standards to start with, like Autumn Leaves, All the Things You Are, Days of Wine, maybe not Days of Wine and Roses, it's a bit more complex. Because all the information is there for you. If you take Autumn Leaves, you know, the chords are there for you. So it's like 2/5, as you said, 1/4, 2/5, 1, dominant into the 5. So as long as you know the arpeggios, you know, you can create great solos. And just out of the chord tones. Going over the arpeggios there, you know, but also a really great and strangely hard exercise is just soloing on one chord, like a one chord vamp. It's actually really, it's more challenging than you might think. People think, oh wow, one chord, how can it be, you know, easier? Well, actually, it's really hard. I've had a few sax player friends that say that they find it so much easier soloing over a jazz standard than a static chord sequence, because in a jazz standard the chords are given to you, you know, for instance like Days of Wine and Roses, you know, it's given, the information is given to us. It's got like an F major 7 to the E flat dominant, to the D, to the G minor, to the B flat minor, to the E flat dominant, to the F, to the D, to the G, to the F, you know, and the information is given to you where if you were just playing on a you know, like something like Chameleon by Herbie Hancock, you just got those two chords moving back and forward, and it can be challenging, you know. I'm trying to do it all in one position just as a nice little exercise there. But try soloing on one chord vamped as well. It's a really good good exercise. Cheers, Derek. Love your lessons. Just hit me up with any string sounds like flats. So are these rounds or flats? They're actually rounds. I know that sounds weird because it sounds so much like flats, okay? So, but if you can hear their rounds just because they're dead as sin, you know. But what I do is they're really dead rounds, but I roll off the tone a little bit. So not all the way, not all the way. Yeah, I like to just hear a little bit of the growl. I like to hear just a little bit of growl, which is why I just, you know, I don't really all the way off. Although I do love that, you know, that all the way off sound, but I find when I'm using it in a band, I kind of get lost in the mix a little bit. I better take some questions from Human Nature. How did you play your version of Human Nature in the video Got Bass Chops? Yeah, I was talking to Vicky Miner about this. What did I drop there? Just somebody's name. I did, I can't remember. I just worked it out. I can't even remember. Do you know some of these guys, like I'm just like prerequisite that I'm not one of these guys, okay? One of these guys that can play something 12 years ago once and they remember it. They're like, oh yeah, that old arrangement of... I'm not one of those guys. I played something last week and I've forgotten it. I'm so bad. Anyway, let me get into the questions on YouTube as well. Thanks again so much for hanging out, guys, as well. Huge shout out to everybody. And just hit like to share the love. Do I also know how to play guitar? I do also know how to play guitar, and I think that it's really benefited me because I can have a good idea about, I think it's really helped my ear training. You know, I think you can do it without being a guitar player, but I think if you just learn a few simple chords, major, minor, dominant, diminished, you know, if you just learn a few simple chords on guitar, it can be nice. And I think learning a little bit of drums as well really helps, because as a bass player, we're really locking in with the drummer. That's what we're giving the drums pitch. When you hear that sort of like, we're giving that. You know, we're giving that bass drum some pitch. So I think learning a little bit of drums as well is really beneficial. Anyone going to the Overwater Open Day at the weekend? I don't know actually, Peter. I'm going to try and get up to it. A few of my friends are going up. Is there a... yeah, they are nickels. Dead rounds. Yeah. Have you owned a 6-string bass? I have. I play 4-string because I like the limitation. In fact, one of my first basses was a 6-string bass. It was an Overwater 6-string bass actually, and I loved it. But I actually like the limitation of a 4-string because it makes me kind of feel like I'm being more inventive. Like I'm crushing down the options that I've got. So I've got to be really. I've just got to be more inventive and think about it a lot more. Well, not a lot more, but I've just got to think about how I can get certain sounds out. And I feel really at home. I can definitely play 5 and 6 string. And I really like both. I like 6 string as well because obviously you've got the low B And you've got the high C as well, which is great for, you know, all those crazy 6-string shenanigans. What's your favourite preamp? I actually preampers in bass amp. I like these Vanderclays. These are really nice. In terms of like bass, I've got no preamp in my amp at all, and I don't know. I kind of like the sound of a passive. I really like the sound of a passive. I think sometimes for me that when I like actives is when I'm using pedals. Like I've had some better, because the signal's stronger and cleaner. On my Overwater P bass, it's got a buffer circuit in it, so it's not, there's no bass or bass, middle or treble controls or anything like that, but it's just a real clean signal because it's got a 9-volt battery in it that powers the buffer circuit, and it's really great with pedals. But it depends what kind of pedals you're using. Like I've used, if it's an octave pedal or a filter, an envelope filter, that's when I kind of prefer active basses. But if it was something just easy, you know, sort of like, you know, something like that, it's fine. It's fine. You can use well, you can use a passive bass with, you know, with octave filters and stuff like that. Like look at Tim LaFave, you know, like he kills it, and he's using passive basses. How to practice modes? Okay. That's a big question. So how to practice modes. So let me first of all just give a little bit of information on modes, because I'm sure a lot of you have just heard the word modes and you got that kind of like, you know, that feeling of what the heck are modes? I hate them. I don't know how to use them and all that. So a mode in its simplest form, okay, let's think about a chord. Okay, so imagine the guitar player is playing a C major chord. Okay, C major. Okay, now the chord tones of the C major chord are C, E, G, and B. They're just stacked thirds, right? Root, third, fifth, 7. That's a C major 7 chord. The mode that goes with that is the C Ionian mode. And it just adds in 4 extra notes, because you've got the first, 3 extra notes. You've got the root, you've got the third, you've got the fifth, and you've got the 7th. So it just adds in the 2nd, the 4th, the 6th, and that's it. So just three more notes. So a mode in its simplest form is if somebody plays a chord, whatever chord it is, there will be a mode to go with that. So if somebody plays like a D minor, in this case, it would be D Dorian. The complication becomes when people start thinking about, so they see kind of like a chord progression that's all within one key, like a D minor 7 going to a G7 going to a C major 7, and it's all in one key, and they're thinking, okay, it's all in one key. Well, even though you could play D Dorian over it, and then G Mixolydian over it, and then C Ionian over it, they all include the same notes, so why should I learn all the modes? Okay, so that will either make total sense to you, and you'll be like, yes, that's what I've been wondering. Why is that? Okay, or you'll be thinking like, what the hell is he talking about? So bear with me, okay? So the gag is, when modes, just because the D minor, for instance, the D Dorian goes with that, it doesn't mean you have to think that. Okay, it's been theorized, it's been schoolified, you know, like if you rewind sort of like, you know, X amount of years ago, people weren't thinking the, you know, Ionian, Mixolydian, Dorian, they weren't doing that, you know, years and years ago. And this has been, it's been schoolified because people want to learn what other people are doing. So what is that? Let's give it a name, you know, oh wow, that's great. But what people, the thing where people trip up is they think they need to think like that all the time. So I would very rarely think D Dorian, G mixed Lydian, C Ionian when I was playing over 251 like that, I generally just think chord tones, so I can get the sound of the chords moving. And then if I wanted to fill in any notes, then I might kind of think of either the main key center or the mode, D Dorian to G mixed Lydian to C Ionian. No, but it's not something you should use all the time. So here's a cool tip that for practicing modes and getting the sound of the mode, because that's what's most important. It's learning the sound of the mode. So for instance, the Lydian mode has got a sound. It sounds like a major scale with a sharp 11. Let's take E major, E Lydian. Root second, third, fourth, sharp 11, sorry, or sharp 4, 5, 6, 7, and octave, okay? It's got a sound of its own. And if you want to give it a label for your brain, like memorize that sound, it's The Simpsons. Boom da dee da dee. That's the Lydian sound. Boo da do da dee da dee do 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 dee do 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 do. Thank you, Danny Elfman, for that. Love Danny Elfman. So take something like that, and a great way to memorize the modes is just take two of the modes and go one to the other. But here's the key. Here's the secret. For me anyway, it was just to use the same root note. So don't, for instance, go between like C major and D Dorian, because they're within the same key, they're all the same notes. What you want to do is look for the sound, you want to memorize the sound, so go between, so let's say E Lydian and E Dorian. Okay, so E Lydian and E Dorian. Okay. So what I'm doing here is going E Lydian, E Dorian, and concentrating on the sound and hearing that sound and looking for what notes change. So I could do, so this is just like an E, right? I think, yeah. So I'm just going to put the octave on so you can really hear it, right? So let's first of all just run up and down E Lydian. E Lydian. Now E Dorian. And now just go, let's run back and forward between the two. So. Lydian to Dorian. To Lydian. So that was just running between the two. So I'm really concentrating on the sound. Lydian to Dorian. Okay, so that really helped me when I got out of that mindset of trying to play like C Ionian, D Dorian, E Phrygian, F Lydian, G mixed Lydian, all that, which is all contained within the C key center. I wasn't learning the sound of the actual mode. So what I did is just take this stuff and isolate it and move between two chords. And total disclosure as well, I actually stole this idea from Joe Satriani, who you've got to just write Joe Satriani modes in on YouTube, and you'll find a great lesson, and he absolutely beasts it. It's really, really killer. Let me just whiz down. Yeah, same with Locrian. You could go between sort of like Locrian and Phrygian. You know, just go between the two modes and just get into it. Just get into the sound of the actual, the sound of the mode. Okay. What's the course we've just released into the Academy? Okay, so the course we've just released into the Academy, guys, is the Reading Charts Survival Guide. We just released that today. If you want to go and check it out, go do it. It's over 3 hours, and I created it because I get asked a ton of times, people come up to me and say, should I be learning to read music? And the answer is, it depends. It depends. It depends on what your goals are as a bass player. So if you want to do things that you're going to be using reading for, I would say absolutely. You know, if you've got aspirations of playing in theatre pits or doing freelance work, then reading is going to be a really important part of that. So it's a great skill to have, and so you should learn to read. But what nobody actually comes up and asks me is, should I learn to read lead sheets and charts, which is a separate thing. A lead sheet or a chart is like a real book. It's like this. Like these aren't notated for bass. It's just their lead sheets. It's a real book, and you know, and everybody that's going to jam sessions and stuff should have one of these. Or you'll get handed one at a gig, and you're expected to be able to decipher what this actually means. Now it means that these, like that sheet there, can be used by everybody. It can be used by the guitar players, by the keys players, by the bass players. So there's a lot of information that isn't as relevant to us as other people, like the melody and stuff like that. So what we need to be able to do is look at a lead sheet and be able to decipher exactly the information that we need to know about, you know, about what's given on the page, what's relevant to us, and how to use it. Now, and on top of that, how to use repeats, pickups, intros, outros, what it means when you see C in a little triangle or C and a plus, and how to use that information to create bass lines, rehearsal marks, DSL coder, DCL coder, all of this terminology that is really important. And the reason why I created the Reading Chart Survival Guide that we've just released today into the Academy is that I think it is so important that every musician, you know, freelance musician or anything like that, it's good to have some basic reading skills down for notation. Just because you can pick up a magazine, if there's no tab in there, you can still get it down. You don't need to be helpful for you in tons of different situations. You know, whether you're playing just with your friends in a garage or whatever, it means you can write down a chart, you can take it and you just cut rehearsal time down by about, you know, by 100, you know. So reading charts is really important. If you want, we've actually got a special 30-day free trial running. If you go to the website, you will be offered the 14-day free trial. But just for you guys on here on Facebook and on YouTube, if you go to scottsbasslessons.com//30-day, 30-day, you'll be able to get the 30-day free trial for the Academy as well. So go do that and jump into the course, and you get access to all the other shenanigans as well, you know, like all the courses. We've got like over 50 hours of courses in there, live streams every week. We just had a live stream last night with Todd Johnson, who is a fantastic educator and bass player. He was doing, I don't know what the topic was, but anyway, we have these live streams every week, so you can sit in your own home and be taught by the best musicians in the world, essentially, and I'm in there as well. Anyway, let's check out these questions. Do you use in-ear monitors? If yes, what brand? I've got a few actually. just like posh ones, unfortunately. But you know, and I've used ones that other people have given me as well. What's the best way to practice how to put the modes together? Well, hopefully I've answered that, Brian, a little bit. Question: players like Joe Dart seem to be able to leave their A string unmuted when they play and have their thumb anchored on the E string even when they're playing on the G string, yet there is no noise. Sam, sometimes a lot of people actually use their ring finger and index finger on their plucking hand to mute. So they'll have, so to show you this, I can't do this, I do this kind of sort of like hybrid floating thumb thing, where I'm moving up and down like that. But some people leave their thumb on the pickup or on the E string, and then they go down like this. For me, I've got that ringing. So what they do is they're muting the A string with the ring finger and sometimes even the E string with their little finger like that. Hopefully you'll be able to see that. If you want to see this in action so you can see somebody really clearly doing it, look at John Patitucci, fantastic bass player. He uses a 6-string bass and he uses this method where he uses the ring finger and the little finger to mute the strings. When he's playing on the G string down here, these fingers are on here. Can they see that, DMAC? I can't see the screen. Is that pretty clear? Yeah, like that. And who else uses that? So Jaco Pastorius used to use it as well. There's a great bit in the video where Jerry Jamot asks Jaco about his muting, and he has no idea. He's like, oh, I do some sort of weird thing. But if you actually watch the video, he does use like his third and his index finger just like that to mute the A string and the E string. Great question. And muting is something that we all have to deal with, especially when we're using 5 strings, right? Wow, a lot of questions. Mike Morrison joined, badass. Do you have any experience with 5-string P basses? I don't actually. Do you play upright? Badly, yes. Really badly. The Academy has straight up changed my practice and playing habits. That's what I like to hear, Matthew. Gerald from Mauritius, how would you describe a groove? And Vladimir, how to hide mistakes? These are 2 great questions, right? Mario, Gerald from Mauritius. How would you describe a groove? I would describe a groove, Gerald, as a rhythm with notes added to it. A lot of the time, so so when somebody's like create a groove, I generally think of the rhythm first and then put notes to it. It's kind of, you know, it can vary, but you know, if you want to break it down into like that, if I was like, it's like, right, dead simple rhythm, and then, but what's the harmony? So the harmony is G minor, and then I just use notes from G minor and add it to the chord, to the rhythm. So let's take the rhythm. 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. And all they're playing is root 5, 7, third, flat 7, root, and then going on to the root of the next chord. Okay, so I'm trying to think of a different riff. Here's going. So. Deeper Underground by Jamiroquai. It's a repeated rhythm. A lot of the time the rhythms are repeated. So even if it was an ambiguous kind of groove, you know, if it's like a more of an ambiguous groove like that, there's still kind of like an underlying rhythm to it, and then everything else is like icing on top of the cake. There's still that underlying repeated rhythm. So I would say grooves, God, talk about a long-winded answer, right? I would say grooves are really kind of like based around repeated rhythms, and then you just get the notes from whatever the chord you want it to and add it to the rhythm. And you can, if you're an Academy member, check out the groove formula, because it will blow your mind, seriously. If you're into that stuff and you want to learn how to create bass lines based on rhythm and then adding chord tones on top of that and then scales, check out the groove formula in the Academy. It will blow your mind. And remember, we're doing a 30-day free trial as well. So it's scotsbasslessons.com/30-day, and you'll be able to pick that up. Oh, there's another great how to hide mistakes. Vladimir. Oh, so check this out, Vladimir. This is a great question because it is actually like super valuable to people to hear this. And I was doing something the other day where I was making a ton of mistakes. It was like one of the recordings for the Academy. And I was like, we've got to leave this in because I want people to see how I get out of the mistakes. And exactly what you've said, how do you hide mistakes? So it's really important that everybody understands that everybody makes mistakes. If you watch any bass player, they'll trip up, you know, and they'll make a mistake, but you will not think it's a mistake because of the way they get out of it. And I learned this in a completely different other genre, or, you know, part of my life. I was working as an apprentice luthier, which is what I did when I left school. I used to build basses, and I was repairing a guitar and drilled a hole, well, actually screwed a screw right through the front of somebody's fingerboard. And as I was repairing it, and the guy who was teaching me, Chris May from Overwater Basses, he said, look, he was like, don't worry about it. He said, everybody makes mistakes. He said, the difference between the professionals and the not professionals is that the professionals know how to get out of the mistake and the non-professionals don't. And that is actually the difference, you know. How to get out of mistakes though is like experience really helps, just like bags of experience and fluidity on the fretboard, so you know how to, if you make a mistake, how to get out of it in like a harmonical in a, don't know what word I'm trying to use. Let's make a word up. Okay, we're live on Facebook. If I had my glasses on, I'd look like a real teacher. Let's make up a harmonic way. So getting out of it, slide into a, you know, you might play a wrong note, but you can slide to the next note and make it sound like you really wanted to do that. And it's something that's absolutely possible. I do it all the time, and that's just comes with like experience. I think Victor Wooten said, I watched a video once where he said, you're only a semitone away from a correct note. So if you play a wrong note, you can slide either side, and it's going to be good. It's going to make it sound good. Like for me, when somebody plays the wrong note and it sounds wrong, just slide into the, you know, next note. It sounds a bit iffy. But if you slid and then had a phrase off the back of it, then it might sound like you actually meant to do that. And I think that it is something that just comes with time and experience. But great question. What's on the pedal board? The pedal board at the minute, well, it's not really a pedal board, it's a carpet board, it's just on the carpet. I've got and I change these all the time, Micropog that does this. All them shenanigans make me feel like a guitar player. all that stuff. I've got a, just get rid of me. I've got a delay. Which is really nice. I've got a tremolo, which I really like. Really nice with the delay, actually. And then I've just got a looper. But I also use one of these a lot, Boss OC2. I know people freak out with these. I use this sometimes. I use this sometimes. Any synth-based stuff, I really like the filter stuff for that. And I've got some other stuff that I don't really use, like mark-based, synth-based I don't really use. I've got some stuff, like I've been playing bass for, I don't know, like over 20 years. You just sort of like collect these things like you collect like backaches, right? You know, as you get older, you're like, oh, I've got a twinge. That's like what happens with pedals with me. Oh, I've got another pedal. I actually wanted to get another pedal today for this. I was like, I really want that other pedal, but I didn't get it, so never mind. Where's your sexy white overburst Fender custom shop P-bass, Scotty? Todd, it's over there. I'm not hating it. I'm not hating it. It's just, I just like the sound of this at the minute. No reason. I don't know. Squeaky chair. I just really like this, and I'm a one bass kind of guy. I'm very monogamous to my basses. I generally just don't like swapping between basses. So when I'll play this to death forever, and then I'll pick up another bass, and I'll probably play that to death forever. I just really don't like swapping between basses. I really like getting into the sound of a bass, and you know, and figuring out what notes sound nice on a particular bass, because sometimes, you know, sometimes they've got all these little intricacies, and some I kind of like it when some basses have dead notes somewhere and you have to avoid them, and like old jazz basses and P basses and stuff like that. I just like it. Do you use apps live ever? I'm a disaster when it comes to tech stuff, Rob, so I don't. Have you ever listened to Dream Theater and the Aristocrats? Yes, I was speaking to Brian Bella last week. He's on the podcast next week, DMAC? Brian Bella? Or the week after? So Brian Bella is either next week on the podcast or the week after. You need to check it out. It's a really inspirational interview, actually. I felt like there was a lot of hugs going on. And what was the question again? Dream Theater. Oh man, I was really into, like, is it Walking Under Broken Glass? I was really into it when I was a kid. And obviously Guthrie Govan, epic. How could you approach Richard Boner's tone stuff? Love how he approaches his notes, and yeah, he does this thing that I used to be able to, Shlomo. Sorry, just calling people out on here. Richard Bonner does this thing that I can't do. Okay. It's like a little phrase. And it's like an out kind of thing, but you don't need to use just that stuff, you know, that's Richard Bonner's thing. So I'd probably say, like, understand it, like work it out and transcribe it, but don't use it, because then people will be like, oh, that's that Richard Bonner lick, you know. Guys like, I think guys that are, it's essentially like a memorized pattern that you can use and imply it over pretty much anything, as long as you slip into it and get out and into whatever you're going into. So for instance, I have like a C major. I could use a B diminished. Like, actually, let me just use something that's completely wrong. I'll use like a C diminished over a C major, and it'll sound fine because I'll just get out of it right. Let me just put some sort of like crazy effects on it, just so it's sort of like, Very C major, right? That was out and then I was in, you know. So you can hear it. It's just, I'm using this stuff and like harmonic, well, from a theory standpoint, it's all wrong. But because I'm just using it as a device, I'm just like, you know, I'm in, everything's nice. And then I slip back in, I just use it, you know. You could use something like, that's another one. That sounds really nice right there now. Oh, this one? Again, you know. All that stuff, it's just, you're playing out. So what I would say is try and find your own little things that sound out. One that I was messing around with recently is, the problem is I can't play it. Now this is an issue, right? Because I'm going to try and demonstrate something I can't play. Never a good idea. Let me put this on so you can hear it really effectively. So there's your C major, right? But I really like, I don't even know what it is, but it sounds really nasty and I like it, and then I can slide in to C major like this. So let me just give sort of like a bit of like, you could do it backwards, you know. Maybe I couldn't do it backwards, but hopefully you're getting what I'm saying. I think you can over theorize things, so hopefully that answered you. Basically just go nuts, make a ruckus, whatever you do, and just make a ruckus, and you know, and then figure out how to get it back in. Do you prefer, I've forgotten how to speak, flats or brights? Dunlop brights, you mean? I think this hasn't got Dunlop brights on it. This has got some, whatever it came with on them. Dunlop brights are nice. I like them. But I like flats too. Please get Les Claypool on your podcast. Nick, if you're watching that, pull that off. I'd love to get Les Claypool. Nick's the editor of iBase, and he sort of like reaches out to say, if you could pull that off, Nick, get onto Les Claypool and sort it. Thoughts on Tony Levin? Really cool. I haven't really listened to much of him, but I like the Peter Gabriel stuff like a lot. Any styles you really don't like? Simon, I actually like all different styles of music, and I think you can, like for instance, just give you a sort of like wild card. I really like Willie Nelson. I think he's a great country singer. Everybody. If it's good music, it's good music. Hit like if you think if it's good music, if it's good music. What do you think of the trick of using basically an Ionian pattern as a starting point for every mode, simply by moving it down or one? I kind of like learning the sound. I like learning the sound of a mode, because if you think about all the modes, here's another analogy that somebody told me, right? So C major, let's take C major, that tone out, C major key has 7 different modes derived from it, right? They're all built from that key. And they all contain the same notes. Let's call it the same DNA for this analogy. It'll reveal itself as we go along. Never come up with analogies live. Now, let's imagine that C major is mum, or mom, as you guys in the States call it. Up north we call them mum. Mam, they do down south. Anyway, it's the mother, right? So C major is the mother. But then the D Dorian, E Phrygian, F Lydian, G Mixed Lydian, A Aeolian, you get what I'm saying, right? B Locrian, all of those guys are like the offspring of the Ionian, of the mother. they've all got their own personalities. So it's really important. They've all got their own DNA. So even though it's coming from the same mum, the same mother, they've all got their own personalities. And as you would do with a family, you want to know each of them individually and get used to their particular character, right? And that's what I would say if you're thinking about, you know, always basing it back to that major key center, you're kind of missing out on the personality of all the brothers and all the sisters. So just, yeah, excuse me for a bad analogy, but hopefully you get it. Mike Mondesir, dude, how's it going? Did you go to Germany this year, Mike? Passing through, sounding great. Let's catch up in human form. Yes, let's do that, dude. What is the Van der Kleer Raw like? Yeah, it's really good. I like it. Slow-mo, what's your thoughts on about avant-garde jazz? I really like it, actually. I'm really into like the older stuff, like Eric Dolphy and stuff like that, right back in the day. Eric Dolphy playing with Charles Mingus. Woo! That shit was good. Anyway, so like, and right through to, you know, like Jim Black playing with Chris Speed and Theo Blackman and Ben Monder, Scully Sverrisson, you know, all those guys, like Knitting Room, Old School New York and all that. Like, I love all that stuff. Really great. Very clear. Oh, cheers. So the modes thing was really clear. So somebody enjoyed my family analogy. Let me just come over here because we've got YouTube going as well. Transcription. How about Victor Wooten on your podcast? He's already been on, dude. That's Mr. Shark. He's already been on. Go to the scottsspacesessions.com, click the podcast thing, you'll find Victor Wooten in there. So let's talk about composing. Somebody's asking about composing. So what I can do is I can kind of slip this into composing and also solo bass as well. That's somebody's asking about solo bass there. So composing, I always think kind of melody first for me. I like the melody. I always think, and I think everybody else really likes melody. So I look for the melody first. So, and then I add bass notes. So the melody could be da di di da do da so that could be da di di da do do da di di da da da. So if I had that melody, I'd be like, okay, what bass note underneath that would sound cool? Da di di da do do. Well, it could be this. So da di di da do da. It could be this. Da di di da do da. It could be this. Da di di da do da. So I kind of sort of like search for the bass notes first, and then kind of fill in the chords around it. So I think melody first. So I want that, you know, that thing that I wrote. That tune that I wrote, Tune for Sunday, I just came up with the melody, and I was like, okay, and then I was like looking for, you know, looking for different chords that would fit over it and stuff like that. And that's really how I approach it. And the same thing for solo bass as well. Like if I'm arranging anything for solo bass, let's say do da do da the Days of Wine and Roses, the Days of Wine and Roses. I'd try and fit the bass line underneath. Do da, do da, di, da da, da dia da do do, da dia da do do, da dia da. Right, and I got this from Bill Frisell actually. I stole it directly from Bill Frisell. I was watching a great guitar player. Check him out if you haven't. Ted Green as well, the guitar player, and the late Ted Green, Green with an E on the end, did a lot of this type of stuff, where they just take a melody and just literally put the bass notes under there, and it just creates this great, you know. Let me just try that again, and then I'll try to do something with it. Do da da di, di, da da da. So if it was like real nice, you know, boo da da, do da da da, and do da da da. So that's like when I'm always looking for the melody and then trying to fill the bass note in. And that's how, you know, the question for how to approach solo bass playing, that's my take on it. Obviously there's like a whole load of other different takes on it, but that's probably the best information I can give you. There's guys like Michael Manwaring who do something different, Steve Lawson who do, you know, they're building textures and loops and all that type of stuff. I need to get into all that, but just from a educational standpoint of what you can do to really kind of like push the envelope with melody and bass notes underneath it, that's really good, and it's really tough as well to do it. It's for me anyway. In the shed, just come across this. Suspending my planned shedding. Sorry, Mark. Do you improve your rhythm? How do you improve your rhythm? Okay, so what I'm going to do is, guys, I've got like a ton of questions coming through, but I'm just going to pick a few because we're at the hour mark now. I wanted to wrap this up on the hour. Bro, is there a pianist in where you can join live online like you? It's somebody that does like what I do for piano. I don't know if there is actually. I don't know if there is. There's some cool guys on guitar that are doing some great stuff. Tom Quayle here from Leeds is doing some fantastic stuff. Will you be doing more Q&A stuff? Yeah, I'll do more stuff like this. Favourite colour of P-Bass? Red. Nah, I haven't got a favourite colour. Oh, what was that? Let me just, how do you... The 2015 Kickstarter challenge.
Hey everybody.
Hey.
Hey everybody.
Hi everybody.
Hello all. Hello.
So D-Mac fell asleep and pressed the... It was going so well when we were very professional up until then, other than me anyway. So D-Mac fell asleep on the keyboard and pressed the button that he shouldn't. He's over there with his head in his hands. Everybody give D-Mac some love. Press like and just tell him it's okay. That was epic. Are we back? I think we're back. Are we back live? I'm just checking. Are we still live, D-Mac? We're still live, we're still live, we're still rocking it. Anyway, so how do you improve your rhythm? Improving your rhythm, there's like tons of different ways of doing it, but what you can do, which is a really great exercise, is clapping exercises where you try and accent certain things. And so for instance, just like something simple like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and tap your foot on 1, 2, 3, and 4. So and then after that, I want you to accent the 1. 1, 2, 3. I mean the one like the first beat of every bar. 1, every beat. 2, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what you split it up into is 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, 4 E and A. 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, 4 E, never burp live, 4 E and A. Okay, so that was that hot dog. It's a good job this isn't smell-o-vision. So break it up into the subdivisions like that and then get to the 1, 2, 3, 4. And you're accenting the 1, then accent the E's. I'll count so you can hear it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. The as 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. And it just gives you like a nice feel of the subdivisions. That's what I really like. It really worked for me as well, doing stuff like that. And also using a metronome. I've got some metronome exercises where I do them on the beat, and then I'll say sort of like, I'll be like, bump, ba-dum, bump, bump, ba-dum, and then the click will just give you a bar's rest, and then back, dum, ba-dum, da, and then a bar's rest, bump, ba-dum, da, 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 ba. You know, doing stuff like that's really good. If you're an Academy member asking that question, I don't know if you're an Academy member or not, go to the Developing Time and Groove course in the Academy course library. It is, I think, something like an hour and a half long, and I take you through all the exercises that I used to get my playing and rhythm together. There's some really like cool stuff in there, some really hard stuff in there as well for you. So go, if you're any Academy members online, go to that, check it out, Developing Your Time and Groove course in the Academy. And if you're not, as I said before, we've got a 30-day free trial. So we're doubling the free trial because we've just released a course today, and you can get a 30-day free trial at scottsbasslessons.com/30-day. So check that out and grab that free trial. Okay, so last question, guys. Sounds great in Boston. Cheers, Phil. How to play a bass. How to play... No, won't do it. What did the bass do to deserve that? Yeah. Everybody's bigging you up, D-Mac. It's okay, D-Mac, everybody's saying. I'm just going to take these ones here. Daniel's saying D-Mac is overworked. Simon Ford, nice one, D-Mac. If anybody's got any last questions, just shoot it over now. I'll pick one and then we'll do it. Flats or wounds. Everybody loves that flats or wounds question, don't they? But for some reason the questions aren't loading on there. We'll do this one instead. The musicality. Ooh. Scott can't sing for toffee. The Rockin' 1000 are live streaming at the same time as Scott, but I'm here. Who's the Rockin' 1000? Is it a band? Okay, how to master technique. That's a good one. Oh, hang on. Wait a minute. Soloing on a blues. How to remember how a note sounds, do you feel? Thoughts on applying chord shapes and target tones to creating bass lines. Thoughts on applying chord shapes and target tones to create bass. I don't understand the question. Do you feel technology is dehumanizing music? Oh, man, I actually think technology is doing like online with the whole world being connected. So I think there's some great music being. I think there's technologies playing a part of, you know, in some ways. I don't know if it's a negative or a positive, but I think the online thing and connecting the entire world has definitely been a great thing for everybody, you know. Soloing on the blues. Let me just do soloing on the blues because it's there's a few people said yes to that. So it's soloing on the blues, right? You can take the one scale approach where if it was like a 3 chord, well, even if it's a, you know, jazz blues, but if it was like, let's take an F blues. So that's like a blues sequence, right? So you can do them. You can just use it like like a zillion guitar players do. You can get away with just using a minor pentatonic scale over the entire thing, you know. And it's great to use that terminology, that vocabulary as well. To learn that, I think it's a really important thing of, you know, just to learn that stuff is really great. But then, if you want to push it a little bit further, just look into using the chord tones as well as that. So you can use that. Okay, so that's a 2, 3 from the top. I'm using just the chord tones from the arpeggios there. Like there's a whole load of different stuff you can do, but it's just a really nice way of getting into it, is using them. You know, using those chord tones as well as mixing it in with that minor pentatonic. And what you would do is like learn bits of vocabulary as well that will fit over like for a dominant chord. So something really simple that would be sort of like a okay, so that's just like a simple bit of dominant chord vocabulary. So let's try and fit that in over the F blues, okay? So so I used it twice there, and then I used it on the B flat. Actually, I could use it there. Let me just do that again, and I'm going to use that same phrase a few different times over different chords, just to show you how you can use vocabulary like this. So the bit of vocabulary itself is just the third, right to the fifth. and then root down to the flat 7. And it's just over a dominant chord, 3rd to the 5th, then down to the 7. So you start off just with a like blues scale. I'm trying to sort of like shoehorn it in, you know, and just use it just to get used to it. And that's kind of going back to what we said right at the beginning of this session, is when you're learning vocabulary, you've got to use that stuff and just shoehorn it into everything so you can get it, make it be part of your sound, and then you can use it more sparingly after you've annoyed the hell out of everybody with it. Well, that's what happens with me anyway, and that's how I recommend that people do it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming along today. We've had a ton of people online. I think my phone's gone dead, actually. Oh, no, it's still alive. And if you've enjoyed this, hit the like button, hit the heart button. We've heard that when people hit the heart button, it shares more. So hit the heart button, do lots of hearting, and look out for when we're going to be doing this again and again. On top of that, remember, if you want that 30-day free trial, just go to scotsbasslessons.com/30-day, and you can get a 30-day free trial for the Academy over at Scots Bass Lessons. Live sessions with me, live sessions every week with some of the best bass educators in the world, just like this, every week, but from all of these guys, the best, like Todd Johnson, Danny Mo Morris, Ed Friedland, Ariana Kapp, Rufus Philpott, Damien Erskine, Phil Mann. I've missed a ton of people out, but you know, these guys are like at the serious top level, and you can learn from these guys from the comfort of your own home. Essentially, we've completely revolutionized bass education. Boom. You know, nothing like, you know, singing your own trumpet, playing your own trumpet. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. And as always, I'll see you in the shed. Bye.
The 2015 Kickstarter challenge. Hey everybody.
Hey,
Hey everybody!
Hi everybody.
hello all. Hello.